This week's big review is Galaxy Instruments and Native Instruments Thrill. I didn't quite get hold of Thrill in time to cover it as a review in the last episode of the Samplecast, so I'm going to give it the full big review treatment this week. However, I did cover it in the news, so to save both you and me some time, I'm just going to play in last week's news item so that you can get the specs, and then I'll launch into some preset examples of the sounds, and then I'll go into the review. Feel free to skip forward if you already know the details. It's a collaboration between Galaxy Instruments, you might remember those from Unicorda and The Giant, and also Native Instruments as well. It's a real-time cluster and aleatoric effects composer, runs in Contact Player 5.6.8 and above, and has 41 gigabytes of uncompressed content in there. The engine combines various sound sources, so you've got orchestral performances, hybrid sources, and also electronic gubbins as well. And you can see on the interface there's an XY pad to manipulate the intensity and mix of those sound sources. There are hundreds of presets here and 963 sound sources in total, so a pretty huge library. I especially like the look of the cluster builder, where you can create your own different intervals for the cluster notes, and there's also randomization options in there. I love that too. So Thrill is just one big patch in Contact with 4 main pages. You've got a home page, one for selecting the sources, an effects page, and also a master page too. Some sources are monophonic, but some are playable on the keyboard. As you increase the y-axis, which they call the thrill factor, different samples are morphed into one another, or notes are added in the cluster builder, depending on how the instrument is set up, and the x-axis swaps between the 2 sources on one side and 2 sources on the other side. There's a huge scope for customization here, so I'll go into the things that I liked. First off, the sound is extraordinary. Initially, I thought the XY pad was a bit of a gimmick, but I quickly realised that the key to Thrill is allowing you to push soundscapes from subtle to fierce with precision and control. I really like the XY pad. You can move it with the mouse, or you can link it up to an external MIDI controller. The customization options are huge, with precise control over the 4 sound sources, their modulation, the effects, and many other parameters. I was very impressed with the cluster controls, which allow glide and user-definable additional notes to be introduced as the thrill factor is increased, although I'm still not absolutely positive I know how this function works in full. I did also like that from the source page you could use the little mini XY pad and source selection controls so that you can audition your potential sounds in context with the rest of the sound. Anyone who keeps up with the Samplecast will know that I love randomization, and Thrill has this function in spades, with options for randomizing the sources, clusters, effects, or any combination of these. I also want to give a mention to the effects in this library and the way that you can adjust the effect ranges of each effect in order to increase them as you push up the thrill factor. All of these are user customizable, and you can change each of the effects parameters as well. I really like this. So there were some niggles with the library, some things that I didn't like so much. First off, this is a product that you'll have to read the manual if you want to get the most out of it. There's no good watching the tutorial videos this time around, as the video walkthrough isn't very detailed when it comes to the interface functions. Some of the interface controls are a bit cryptic as well, so you'll be poking around trying to work out what they do before you have to flick open the manual. Luckily, the manual is decent and does explain most of the functions fully. I didn't find the source browser very easy to use, and it would have been nice to have been able to favourite certain sources and filter them out. I know that's possible in Contact because a few recent libraries have done that, such as Sample Logic's Rhythmology, so it would have been cool to have seen it implemented here. The controls are a bit small. If you're a bit hard of seeing, you might have a bit of trouble with these. There's quite a lot of space around them, so the controls could have actually been made bigger, the dials and sliders especially, but you might have to sit a bit closer to the screen to see some of these. So all in all, it's a big thumbs up for Thrill. If you want to load up Thrill and just get started, then the snapshots and presets have you more than covered. If you want to get deeper, well, you'll have to read the manual for sure and invest some time experimenting with the effects, modulation, clusters and layering controls. But this is totally worth it, as you'll be able to create bespoke patches and your own palette of unique Thrill sounds. To be honest, if I had a horror or suspense movie to score, I could probably load up Thrill and score the whole thing in a day or two. It is that quick to use. And for time-strapped composers that are likely to be doing something like this, don't even think twice about grabbing Thrill. Thank you so much for watching. That's just a small taste of the Samplecast, a weekly podcast and YouTube show for sample library geeks and plugin enthusiasts. You can find out more information at thesamplecast.com. Don't forget to subscribe.